Welcome back, everyone. This is no longer Aluminum Tarot. It's actually Crucible Tarot, and there will be an explanation a bit later on about what kind of provoked and prompted me to rebrand this entire channel. But I guess it just kind of aligns a bit more with the ethos of what I'm trying to accomplish and achieve. But yeah, more details a bit later on. That said, we're going to go ahead. We're going to move on to the sign of Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. We'll be reading for the month of June 2026 and going into some of the messages that relate or pertain to what's taking place in your life at this moment. Whether you are a sun, moon, or rising, I guess however this resonates, this would likely be your story, or just take the parts that resonate and leave what doesn't. We'll be reading from 3 different types of decks. We are going back to the Angelarium Oracle of Emanations deck, which is an amazing oracle deck made by Peter Morenbacher, I believe. And then we have Moonology Oracle deck, which is by Yasmin Boland. And finally, there's a very special deck that I'm incorporating into this mix for this reading. This is the Warrior of Love Tarot by Luna Marie. And I actually, personally, was able to meet her in Watkins Books in London when she was doing kind of an expose of her work. And very, very nice person. And she was even able to sign the deck, to wish me good luck on, I guess, the readings. So yeah, I'll include the details of these 3 decks and her deck especially in the description box below if you're interested in picking up a deck yourself. That said, we're going to just move straight into the message. We will look and see what's going to be taking place for the month of June 2026 as normal. I will try to go into deeper messages rather than just superficial understanding of what the cards are trying to say. So, as always, if you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so that you don't miss any updates from future postings, and also support the channel in any way that you see fit. And that's going to be up to you. Now, we'll start off with the basic ones. So we have, for you Pisces, the Angel of Mercy. So this is going to be, this is kind of like the complement to Archangel Chamuel, which would be the, I guess, the polar opposite, if not the full opposite of Gavura, which is Archangel Samael. And Zadkiel is the Angel of Mercy, which is, I guess, a little bit talking more about chesed, love, things of that nature, being merciful in the dealings with other people. So when you have basically in Kabbalistic theory or praxis, you have the left hand of God, which is Samael. You have the right hand of God, which is Chesed, which is Kamael or Zadkiel in this case. What we're seeing are the ways that the universe interacts with its creations. So when you use your hands, these are your ways of communicating. The hands themselves are related to Virgo and the sign that is connected to Mercury. Mercury being the nerves in this case, and the ability on the earthly realm to move and manipulate things the way they need to. That can also, Virgos can also deal with the intestines, but that's for a different purpose. In this particular case, the right hand of God, it is the way the universe interacts with people in order to manipulate the circumstances that they are faced with in a positive, I guess, a more loving way, one that is closer to what you would say Ma'at in Egyptian mythology, but also the 4th sphere, which is Cancer. Whereas the 5th sphere is that of Mars, which is about hot Martian energy used to impose force on people and is done through a severe way. It can also talk about courage and bravery. We'll get onto that a bit later on. So, in your specific case, you're probably coming to the point where you are looking for respite in a situation that you are facing something that has been going on for a long time, and you're asking the universe for that mercy, so that way you can receive a bit of a break from whatever it is that you've been going through. And with that said, you have in this card Zedekiel, which is, I guess, holding a pyre of some sort, and also the sword. So the sword is also being about truth, cutting the things out that no longer serve you in order to deal with to deal with life in a new light. And then with that pyre that's holding there, that lantern, it's almost like going within in order to understand how to do that. So you may have been spending some time with yourself to try to understand a situation in a better light, which is going to allow you to, I suppose, overcome it, in addition to relieve the pressure that has been placed on your life by the overarching circumstances that you've had to face. And with that said, if you're on the right path, then you can expect powerful change. This is a new moon eclipse. The eclipse is kind of a way of ushering in new energy into something. It is a disruptive energy, because typically with the eclipse, it's not a phenomenon that happens often, but when it does happen, it disrupts the normal order of things. So you can have a crescent moon, you can have a gibbous moon, waxing moon, but if an eclipse takes place, it's going to cover all of that, no matter what. Now, don't quote me on that, but I do believe that, based on the angle that the moon is connected to, the sun, and then the positioning of the earth, that's when it would cover, and that's when it would be able to affect that change. So it's almost like a period of timing that you've had to deal with as well. So you can expect powerful change. It's not coming yet, but you can expect it to take place soon. Timing is right. The planets and the satellites are aligned. So that way you're now starting to see the changes that you've wanted to effect in your own life. Now, we move into the first set of cards. We have the Four of Pentacles. And additionally, we have the Chariot. It's because of the Chariot. Because you want to see a change in your circumstances and you want to move forward with life, you have been saving, conserving your energy, your resources, your money and finances, so that way you can understand precisely where to direct those finances when the time comes for it. So rather than splurging your money or spending your money on certain things that you probably shouldn't, rather than expending all of your energy doing a bunch of things, you're conserving it, and you're withdrawing until the time is right for you to move forward with the Chariot. And with the Chariot, when you know it's time to move forward, that is when you will allow the universe to take the reins and to move you in the direction that's more conducive for you. So with the Chariot, as I've explained, I think it was to Aries, the Chariot is a card that tells us about things like puberty, things like massive changes, revolutions, moving into new epochs. These are things that once they're set into motion, you cannot stop them. And so it's all about trusting in the universe and its guidance and faith to move things in a specific direction. So that said here, we also look at there's a very interesting way that they've designed that here. We have the Four of Pentacles here, and she's holding 4 peacocks. Now, peacocks tell us about pride, but they also tell us about ostentation. So it's about learning how to show your wealth, your status to the outside world. Oftentimes the peacock was an animal that was kept around as a symbol of wealth. I remember, different visits to London and other parts of the country. You would see in certain places where there were, private grounds, like places like manors or castles or things that you could visit. Sometimes they'd have peacocks wandering around because the people who were managing the grounds were the ones that were allowing those, they were raising the animals and they were taking care of them as if they would for a wealthy baron, baroness, or, lord or whatever. So in doing that, that is kind of like what you're doing. You're training yourself to get to the point in which you can actually be ostentatious. You can show signs of wealth and status to the outside world, but for now you have to keep it on a tight lead. And that lead, those leads that you can see are on the peacocks. It's like, don't let them run free just yet. Hold and conserve and be stable in what you have now until you can acquire the resources that you can use for a bit later on. So moving forward, we go into the next stage of this. We'll then talk about the cards that you see here. This is the Four of Wands. You have another four. So you go from the Four of you go from the Four of Pentacles to the Four of Wands, which is very good progress. That means that the actions that you've taken are now leading you to a point where you can celebrate and you can actually feel more positive about your circumstances. You can celebrate a milestone that you have achieved as well. And the reason for this is the Lovers in the reverse. Now, it's a bit difficult for me to say like whether or not you have detached from something, maybe something you felt strongly about, or maybe that a relationship has ended. But what I see, because you have two cards here, where you have male and female energies embracing in both of these. I'm almost getting the expression like when you love something, you let go of it, and if it returns to you, then it was meant to be. If not, you have to set it free. That's the expression that I'm getting right now. And I feel like something that maybe you were passionate about in the past, something that you had a strong pull to it, you had to let it go at the time, and now it's finally coming back. Because you were able to let go of it in the past, you now see that it's come back to you, and you can celebrate this reunion, this return, because this is oftentimes the Four of Cups. The Four of Wands can be like a marriage. It can be a ceremony of sorts, something to commemorate, an event in your life, and that can give you a lot of pause, something that you can feel proud of. It's not quite the Six of Pentacles yet, where you have to continue the fight in the Five of Pentacles to move to the Six of Pentacles, but it's a milestone that you can celebrate in your training. Now, when you do this, what I see here there's a little bit of a difference here that I see. When we talk about that wealth and ostentation, you have in the Lovers, the people are very naked and vulnerable. But in the Four of Wands, we see that they're in ceremonial attire. So with that said, you're moving from a period where you're making a choice and a decision, the Lovers being the choice. You've disconnected from one choice, and now you're celebrating the choice of something else that you've decided to take upon. And with those Lovers embracing, that shows me that the new choice that you make is one that is taking you into the right direction. So that said, we move on. We can even start to ascertain what's taking place in the final bit. So you have the Three of Swords in the reverse. It's quite a very dramatic kind of card here, as you can see. And one of the things that I love about this deck is that it shows you kind of like the principalities of each of these. So this Three of Swords is Saturn on the left side in Libra. So it's the hardship, the difficulty that takes place in relationships themselves, or in the balance of your own heart. And with Justice, this is the reason why your Three of Swords in the reverse, because you're getting over heartbreak that has taken place from the past, probably feeling restricted, feeling like things were not going well with you. But now we see that Three of Swords is in the reverse now because you have Justice, Libra, which is now bringing balance to your situation, whether or not that is a financial situation where you are dealing with, having to conserve your money until you can get to something new. And that in turn allows you to restore the balance to your life. and no longer feel the pain and the heartache of having, you know, such a lack or such a difficult circumstance that you have to face. Once you are in this mindset of Three of Swords in the reverse, you can finally now get into the Four of Swords, which is the healing process. And once you do that, you can start to release a lot of the pain and heartache. So that fourth sword comes to you in the outcome with the King of Swords here. You're finally mastering your intellectual sphere, your mind itself, and you're actually starting to master that energy by making solid plans. How do I plan to do this? What am I going to do to get my finances correct? What am I going to do to overcome the difficult emotions I feel from the Three of Swords in the reverse in the past? When you start to bring all of these things into play, that is when you can expect the powerful change. Because perhaps in the recent past, you felt like you were too much in the giver energy, where things were very, very difficult. You were under constant judgment and sorrow about things. And now you feel like the universe is throwing you a fucking bone, as I would say, like in Austin Powers. It's like, throw me a freaking bone here. It's like, when is the universe going to finally allow me to have something that I can cherish instead of going through this difficult, severe energy throughout my entire existence? And you can see that when this King of Swords is on its side, it's trying to right itself upright based on the actions that you take. When you plan accordingly, you can then start to master your intellectual sphere. And you can then start to think more strategically in the way that you do things and master your air energy, which if you are Gemini, Libra, Aquarius in your chart, this would allow you to tap into that energy and to make good use of it because you are planning the next steps. Once you get past the Two of Wands, you then wait into the Three of Wands, and then that in turn, once your ships begin to come in, you can go to the Four of Wands. So, that said, check the time, it's about 17 minutes. Yeah, I suppose that when you're faced with difficult circumstances, difficult situations, we have to deal a lot with difficult bits, the obsidian aspects of our life, where we're trying to combat the negative energies that are thrown our way, where we're trying to overcome the obstacles, where we're trying to deal with really difficult emotions. We're trying to transmute things into a bit more of the chesed aspect, which balances it out. And that in turn gives us the ability to feel at rest and at peace. We go from tension in our environment to peace, from Gevira, having to be strong, brave, fighting things all the time, to chesed, feeling mercied or merciful, and being at peace and being at rest, as if the universe is giving you a helping hand, or people are giving you a helping hand. So in essence, if you haven't been tapping into the resources around you that will allow you to feel better about your circumstances and to overcome those circumstances themselves, perhaps it's time for you to take a look at that and see where that can take you as well. Justice, you oftentimes see the scales in the Six of Pentacles as well. So justice would be on a more major arcana side, whereas the minor arcana would be, you could see the Six of Pentacles holding those scales and balancing things in your material resources. But in this case, it's balancing your entire life. And we see these scales here. And it's almost like in the Zadikiel, he has only one of those scales. So he's taking that scale and he's trying to balance the Gevra aspects that you've undergone in your life, which have been difficult and have brought you a lot of turmoil and have caused a lot of pain and suffering. Zadikiel seems like he's bringing that other side of the scale to place on the weight. And then that's going to balance out all of the circumstances you've had to face in the recent past. So I'm hoping that is your circumstance, and I'm hoping that's your story. If it is, let me know in the comments below how that pertains to you, if it does apply. So again, once again, this is now officially Crucible Tarot. This is about the transmutation process, the Jungian concept of individuation. So that is going to be more about the crucible. I'll explain that in a little talk or rant or ramble in the near future, hopefully within the next week or so. Thank you so much for joining. If you like what you see here, always be sure to like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell. And until next time, I will end it with the new saying that I'm applying to this, which is Viam Gevara Ambula, which literally translates to I walk the path of Gevara. I walk the path of strength, courage, and severity. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye now.